Hey everybody, my name is Shane Cole, and I'm very excited to be doing this for Jonathan J. and whoever's interested in watching these and hanging out, listening to other people's stories. Jonathan J., who is a wonderful guy if you don't know him, sent us a handful of questions and said we could pick any number of these to answer. I'm probably just going to answer all of them because I love to talk and I love to tell stories and I love to read stories and hear stories. So, like I said, my name is Shane Cole. My story is I'm 29. I started playing music full time 10 years ago. In high school, I played in various like indie rock bands. Middle school, like I kind of played like heavy music or whatever. But I also started playing at my dad was a pastor. Also started playing at church. My youth pastor and longtime mentor was also like a traveling worship leader, and I traveled with him. And we would play special events or disciple nows or church functions, or we would do like little tours and stuff. And so middle and high school was kind of doing that, and high school I kind of got a little bit more into my own stuff. I wrote songs and played in band and had real cool creative guitar stuff and had a blast. 19 years old, went to music school and came out of music school, started teaching, and I started music directing at a church. And man, that kind of all changed a few years after that. Probably by 2010, I'd stopped teaching and music directing at this church, and I was kind of just traveling and playing gigs around Atlanta, and I was kind of going like between churches and stuff. And anyways, fast forward 10 years of playing in different bands and for different worship leaders, and um, helping out at different churches, and um, playing for different songwriters and things like that, in and out of various studios. Here we are. I'm 29. I've been married to my wife EB for 3 years. She's 25. She'll be 26 soon. And she's a worship leader, and we are plugged in at our home church. We kind of split our time just between two places. And I have some recording stuff at the house, and I farm tracks out from the house, and I'm in studios all around town, and I'm touring with a country singer-songwriter this year. And if you listen to worship music, you'd probably know Daniel Bashta. I play bass for him. And so long story, started playing music a long time ago. Knew I always loved it. Knew I wanted to do it. Really always took it seriously. Always had the support of my parents. And yeah, it's just been my greatest passion, and I've been really, really fortunate. I absolutely don't take it for granted that I get to do it every day. It is very hard. And the future is so uncertain. I mean, the future is really uncertain for everybody, but especially when you're self-employed, contracting musician, it's especially uncertain for us. So it's hard, but it's worth it in my opinion. Some people decide they don't want to do it anymore, and that's totally cool. But I think I'm still I'm gonna stay on track and just see it through as long as I can. So another question is, who do you currently play with? How'd you get the gig? Well, I love to travel with Daniel Bashta. If you're like I said, if you listen to worship music, you may know his name. I got the gig because Tucker, his guitar player, and I really get along. And Tucker wanted me to come play at their church called Riverstone. It's a wonderful church. My wife and I still play there. And I had lunch with Daniel, and Daniel and I hit it off, and I played at his church for a year or two, and then he asked me to travel with him. And then I play for 1,000 other random things that may bore you, but another question is, what are your responsibilities on the road? With Daniel, I think, we just did this live recording for him, and in September of 2016, I music directed it, so sort of MD, but it's not official. Like, no one's named me that. But I have the least going on, I don't have drumsticks in my hands, and I don't have a huge pedal board in front of me like Tucker does. So if I wind up with a talkback mic, I music direct. And I drive a lot. Other than that, I do run tracks with him occasionally. When we do tracks, I'm usually the one that runs tracks. My first tour with Daniel, ran tracks for him, and I never road managed, but we all kind of pitch in and do that. I definitely don't do any booking or anything like that. What are some of your influences? The band Brand New. There's nothing that could influence me more. I loved that band since high school. I still love that band. They're kind of slowing down. They're not releasing records as much as they used to, but Vinny, their guitar player's my hero. I love the way he plays. I love Leland Sklar as a bass player. We obviously play very different, but I love his approach to just life and being a pro musician and things like that. I like all the guitar players from Bethel. That's kind of a recent influence. I just think they have an incredible way of making music and producing and stuff. And a lot of my friends influence me. A lot of the players that kind of play around Atlanta, and some of my friends that have ended up in Nashville and Los Angeles. I think we all kind of influence each other. They've definitely influenced me. What are a few favorite pieces of gear? I definitely love. So I play guitar and bass. I love, they're kind of all my favorite. Probably my 77 P bass. This one right here behind me. That one. The all black on black with maple. That bass, it's like it can't sound bad. It's super awesome. I've got a 76 Gibson Ripper, 78 Gibson Grabber, 71 P bass. I've got a really awesome upright, a bunch of guitars. My favorite guitar is probably my 335. I absolutely love it. And I probably could not live without my Matchless DC-30. It's the best sounding amp I've ever heard, in my opinion. And I worked really hard for it. I hung a lot of sheetrock to save extra money, and was playing a bunch of gigs too, and I paid cash for it, and it felt really good, and I'd never spent $4,000 on anything in my whole life at the time. As I've gotten older, I've definitely spent that kind of money on various things. You'd be surprised if you're not in your older 20s yet. But my Matchless would be my desert island, or if my house was on fire, if I would run in and get one thing, it'd probably be that. What gear is on your wish list? Man, so many things. Definitely a Klon overdrive. I want a real one. They're awesome. I would love a vintage Ampeg flip top 15 B15. Would absolutely love that. I also want, kind of saving up for a Sennheiser 441. That's my favorite microphone on guitar cabinets. And I'll think of more later. What advice would you give to someone who wants to do what you do? I would say I've had lunch with a lot of people that have full-time jobs that want to play music, and my advice would be, if you're doing a full-time job, I'd say get a part-time job and supplement that income with playing music. Just figure it out. Figure out different ways to make money and be creative. That yeah, I would just give you that advice. And then, if it ever feels really good to totally quit everything else and just focus on music, go for it. But my advice would be, don't have any expectations for how it's supposed to happen or when it's supposed to happen. There's no pattern, no rhyme, and no reason to music. It's very confusing. So don't have any expectations and do it because you love it, and just be really smart and work really hard, and treat it like you'd treat any other job. Something in music, this kind of rolls into the next question. What do you wish someone told you before you got started? In my opinion, this might sound a little jaded. I don't mean it that way, but in music, you're not rewarded for good behavior, and you're not reprimanded for bad behavior. So if you're going to be the kind of person that shows up on time, extra prepared, with a great attitude, and treat everybody great, and you do good, solid, honest work as a musician, you won't get a pat on the back. You may not even get called back for the gig, and you'll never know why. In a lot of cases, I'm not saying this always happens, but that's just not how it works. Like I said, I feel like I'm a decently smart guy, but there's really no there's no just cut and dry way to explain how the music works and how people end up with certain gigs and doing certain things. It'll leave you just baffled, some of the stories. And so anyway, what I wish someone told me before I got started, and what advice I would give to someone who wants to do what I do, I would just say, do the right thing and be prepared and be on time and work hard, because it's the right thing to do, and you'll sleep a little better at night, and you'll have a lot of pride in what you do. And the more people that behave with a professional manner, the more, as musicians as a whole, will be represented well. To like so many other people in the workforce and in the world, I don't feel musicians, especially if you don't play for some superstar that everyone in the world's heard of, you don't get a lot of positivity from other people. So I feel like the more people that carry themselves with professional attitude and take music really seriously and get up every day and work really hard, the more people that do that, the better off we're going to be as just a scene of musicians. How do I learn new material? I've kind of refined this over the years. What I usually do is I'll listen through one time. So let's say I'm learning 8 songs. I'll listen top to bottom, all 8 songs, whether I'm driving or at my desk with my headphones on or whatever. Listen all the way down. No guitar, no paper, no pen, nothing. Just absorb it. And then I sit down, and I'll usually make a chart. So I usually don't even have a guitar in my hands for this part, because I find it more comfortable just to sit normal, like at a desk, like I'm writing something with headphones on. And because I spend a lot of time on ear training, I can just chart by listening, and it's 99% correct. And then I grab an instrument, if it's guitar or bass, whatever it is I'm playing. Then I'll go down a third time, and I'll be listening, reading my chart, and playing along. And that way I'm essentially double checking my charts, or triple checking my charts. Double checking my charts, making sure I didn't get any numbers wrong, any chords wrong, and I'm also just hitting all the material for a third time. And then I'll usually take a break. If hopefully nothing's last minute, I'll take a day or 2 break. I'll come back and hit it again, or I'll just be listening as I sit in traffic and stuff. And The more I feel like I know the song, the more I'll play it correctly. That might sound hilarious to somebody. That might be like way obvious, but for me, practicing like a lick or learning chords and stuff or reading it off the chart, that's one thing, but I feel like I just need to know, like I need to know the song like I've been singing it for years, which is hilarious because so rarely do I play something that I've been playing for years. I mean, I learn a lot of new stuff, and so that's my process. What regiments and slash exercises would you recommend to get better? There's a thousand. There are endless things, you know. I think just being really intentional and like kind of going back to like having a professional attitude. I think just always exposing yourself to an instrument and like it being like a structured time, not just jamming. Work towards something, like a technique you're not great at or whatever. Spend consistent time working towards that. But if I had to simplify that, my answer, what exercises slash regimens would you recommend to get better? My big thing is just being tight, being solid. I just think always practice with a metronome. You know, if you're yeah, really just always practice with a metronome. And if it's something hard, you know, practice slow and speed it up over time. And if it's something you already know, just make sure you're practicing it like internalizing some sense of groove, um, so that you're like just rock solid when you play with people. Click or a metronome is just incredible accountability, in my opinion. So that would be my advice. And thanks for listening and watching. I'll try to take some pictures of some gear. But yeah, appreciate it, Jonathan. Thanks for having me along. Y'all